Hello, everyone. I'll start with introducing this community talk. We are happy to welcome you to this community talk, Drawing Resilient Futures. And we like to welcome the speakers of today. It's Janna Beck, the head of graphic design at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp, and Bhavna Pather, scholar and curator affiliated with the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban. Michelle Stewart has excused herself, so it's with Janna and Bhavna today. Before we start, I have 3 practical announcements. During the presentation, we ask you to mute yourself, and then afterwards we'll have a Q&A, and then you can unmute yourself. But if you have questions during the Q&A, you can ask them in the chat, and then we'll come back to them in the Q&A. Also, I want to announce that we're making a recording, so we can send it to you afterwards, so you can look at it again if you want to. I think most people are joining now, so that's it for the practical announcements, and then let's start with the presentation.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Clara, for announcing me and Bhavna. We are going to talk today about our project Drawing Resilient Futures and the collaborative effort we did between the Royal Academy of Antwerp and the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban through this VLIRUOS Short Initiatives project. Our main objective of collaborating was to see how a software developed at the Royal Academy Antwerp could become part of the curriculum of KwaZulu-Natal University. And maybe a bit about the software. So prior to this project at the Royal Academy, we developed a software called Framed, which was mainly based on low threshold use, co-creation, sharing, collaboration, and of all, it's open source. The software, maybe I should give a little bit of a technical or explanation about it. It's like we connect different computers together where people would draw with Wacom tablets on a shared canvas. It started out as a one frame, and then later it developed into a frame-by-frame software, so you could make easily, very intuitively, collaboratively short animations. It's very flexible in terms of how many frames you use, how many colors you use, how many participants you have. And that is something we further developed then together with Durban. And the main thing that was developed, mainly by Bhavna as a scholar, is that we could use it remotely, so that we could work with people on different geographic locations, working together, different artists, students, collaborating on this shared canvas. So maybe I give now the word to Bhavna. She can talk a bit about how she experienced being a scholar within this project.
Hi, everyone. So just a little bit about myself. So I started this project after my honors, and it started with my master's research. And being a part of this experience was a really unique opportunity for me. I got to learn different methods of research, especially with Max Lab. I'm working so closely with them. A lot of it was research in practice, which I felt was so invaluable to my own master's research, where I applied it in a way where I was actually a part of these things happening and taking shape. So I really enjoyed that. I mean, planning the events and working closely with different artists and different coders, it really widened my network, really, where I wasn't just exposed to artists, but also different types of people from different disciplines, and how together we created this project. And in a lot of ways, the opportunity, I think, inspired a lot of us. So with these events, it was me and then a lot of the other students at UKZN, where when we were doing the events, they would take part, they would use the software, they would bring their own sort of performances. If they were drama students, they would come in. So it really was a starting point where we had this collaboration, and then it just grew bigger, where we fostered new connections with other disciplines, like especially drama. And even students in my school being a part of this, they were exposed to something, the potential, the opportunities that were there. And in a way, it actually encouraged them that, you know what, this digital art is something that they can pursue and actually have a lot of potential and opportunities there. So, yeah. So I think Janna will take it from me. This is one of the first workshops that we did.
Well, we started the project with a collaboration with Poetry Africa. Also through Philip Meersman, we got in contact because he is organizing a lot of these world poetry events. And he was working already a lot with University of KwaZulu-Natal. And that's how we actually got in contact. Philip is a colleague of mine. And then this is how this collaboration started. So the first workshop we did as a kickoff, a test, was together with Poetry Africa at the community center KCAP in Durban, which was a bit also our goal to also work with townships and give opportunities to less economically beneficiary youth. So that's why we got to this community center with, I think we had 3 computers with us and a projector, nothing more. And we did a workshop on this collaborative drawing with them. And together we also did a workshop on spoken word and how they could express themselves. So it was really about self-expression and collaborating and sharing materials. This was a very nice event. We also had Modise, which is a famous South African writer and poetry artist, collaborating with us. So this was a very nice experience to start with. We also had very, very nice comments of all the students and youngsters we worked with. They were in teams, like some of them did their spoken word while others were drawing based on what they were saying. Like this software and way of working, it also gives a very interdisciplinary approach. It's very easy to connect with performing artists, with musicians, with all kinds of artists. Endeavors can come together into a shared experience, a shared presentation. So that is what we did there. Are there more?
This was the Artfluence Festival that we did, where we really did showcase the development we made with the software, with the frame proxy, where before you could connect on a local network. And so we had to overcome that, because now we were trying to connect 2 different continents, 2 different networks completely. So we actually developed the framed proxy. And this was one of the first events where we showcased that. And for our first time, it worked very well. I mean, the connection was there. The students, when they saw what we were doing and that the drawings were coming from all the way in Antwerp, that in itself encouraged them, as it was this new software that they were being exposed to. And we had some professional artists come in, the Sketches group, and they were trying and they were drawing. But then it got to a point where people just wanted to interact with the software and see how it worked. And then to see it projected on the buildings, like what they were drawing, it was sort of like they were doing it and then they were also seeing it happen. So it was really great to see that, and that they wanted to interact with the software and with others. The Dennis Hurley Center that we went to is one of the more underlooked areas in Durban, where not a lot of community development happens. So the fact that we took this there with all of this equipment, it was really inspiring, and all of the people who were involved really had this exposure to this type of software, this type of equipment. And in that way, it was investing in this community and saying that, you know what, we are bringing this here, we are looking at you, we want you all to interact with us. So in that way, this was a really nice event where we could involve everyone and show them what we have done and how far we can actually take these types of projects where we can include not just ourselves, but like communities that are not or underlooked or aren't like always involved in such projects, if that makes sense. Okay. And then these are just some pictures of the students and how we had it set up in the room. And then this was the outdoor projection where we also had students who did work for this particular event when they heard that we were going to have projections and it was going to be outdoor in this public space. So these are actually works from honors students who, when we started this, it just kind of became bigger than just the project, where it also fostered a place for people to express themselves. So I think that also is very important with these events, that we would start it with the framed, but because it was such a big thing and we put a lot of attention into it, a lot of people saw that and wanted to be a part of it as well. So I think that too was great, where we collaborated not just within ourselves, but we were looking for other outside external people who wanted to be a part of it and show what they could offer. And then this is a workshop that we also did. So one of the things that we noticed, especially in these communities that we were going to, that they were being exposed for the first time to using Wacom tablets and connecting it to projectors and using software. I mean, for us as students, we're always working with creative software, but this in itself, it like opened up new dialogue for people who weren't so familiar. And then Janna will say that the software itself is very easy to understand and use. So to see people like to understand it, to pick it up so quickly and to enjoy what they were doing, that was a great one. It was empowering for them to share their stories and have the space to do that.
Yeah, maybe I should add that indeed the software is designed to work very intuitively, to give people without any or a little prior knowledge of how computers work. So the part where that the user part, let's say, it's as intuitive as possible. That it's not a complicated software at all. It's not meant to be. And that were really also design choices when we made it, like not to overcomplicate anything. One thing, for instance, is there is no eraser in the software. What a lot of people who are used to work with digital software think like, oh, I drew a line, but now I cannot erase it anymore. But that is as well a design choice as also a technical thing, like because we work with this network of computers, once a line is sent out, you cannot take it back. But it's the same as if you would draw on paper or if you would draw with charcoal. If you draw a line, you cannot take it back. You can draw over it and modify it, or someone else can modify it or draw over it, but you cannot erase it. So what you send is sent. That's also a bit of a mindset of how we work. Okay, Bhavna.
So this was another event we did. So we really wanted to look at how we could foster this type of community engagement. So this was when we went to a high school. So we were a part of this Poetry Africa Festival, and they go around and like inspiring youth to participate. So we kind of attached ourselves to that, where we went to this high school and then there were student performers who had prepared poems and songs and performances. And then when we went there, we were like, you know what, collaborate with the students. So one of the things that was unexpected for us is that we weren't familiar with the performances, what they were going to be about, what the students were going to say. And then we were drawing and responding to that. And then at first it was very nerve-wracking for us because we were like, no, what we're drawing, they're going to see as we draw it. So even in that way, how we worked with each other really got forefronted in this way. We were like, no, the software is meant for us to collaborate and to co-create a visual image. How are we going to do that and also respond to the poems and the performances? So I think that was a great way for us to really pay attention to how we interact with each other and how the software actually enables that and really could take it further. And the students themselves were completely impressed. I mean, we said that we were from UKZN, that we collaborated with a university in Belgium. And I think for them, it just opened up their minds of what can actually happen. That even with their poetry, it can still lead to parts that not necessarily about poetry, but they're still about expression and collaboration and co-creating to develop this collective of what we'd like to do. Yeah. Okay, so that was in the high school. And this is the setup that we have. And then the students who watch the performance. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Then another thing, like it's a very layered project. Like on the one hand, we had this technical research we were doing, then a lot of like more social collaborative research, like how to bring people together. And also about digital literacy, like how you bring people to this train of technology and make the step up as low as possible. That was also one of our goals. So during the project, we also worked together with another project. It was a creative project, a Creative Europe project called Urban Travel Machines. And this project was mainly in Europe, between Belgium, Aalto University, Helsinki, Poland also, and different planetaria around Europe. And for that project, students would make visuals also combined with poetry artists. But during the live sessions in the planetaria, we also added our software and our research to it. So the live sessions would end with an improvisational visual and sound. Like Philippe was doing his poetry, and we had students drawing live, a bit like jamming live jazz improvisation. We projected there within the dome of a planetarium. So that was also a different way of working and thinking. It was also for us a very nice experience to get it from, mostly we do large scale projections outside or it stays on a screen. Suddenly it became a dome. So you have a different way of looking and working. And while you draw, you have to really look up to the dome, like where is your line going and what is happening. Also, what we experienced here was that a poem is about 3-4 minutes. So it is very fast drawing to get something on the screen from nothing. And that's a difference with other projects we did before, where you had way more time in drawing and preparing, and the drawing would change during time and things like that. Here it was really on the moment, as fast as possible, grasping the idea and the feeling to create really an immersive experience for the public and also for the people drawing. Like on that moment, you really get engaged into the setup. Yeah, that's what I want to say about it. So after the planetarium in Spain, at Coruña, we also participated with a final event, which was held in Brussels Planetarium. But I think these pictures, this last one is from Brussels Planetarium, I think, because it's a way bigger planetarium even. Okay. Which was also, maybe I should add, it's also a way of taking this project broader than the initial collaborations we had, with connecting to other initiatives, other artists worldwide, which gives us opportunities for the future. Then one of the bigger goals also of the project, what we found difficult to achieve within South Africa, is that you work in situ on location and you try to gain interactive, spontaneous collaborations with people who pass by, with people who want to participate. Like what we did before was always with a bit more strict setup, like you invite people. That also has mainly to do with safety regulations in South Africa. But I think it was important also for Bhavna and her colleagues to experience what you could do if you break it up into a spontaneous collaboration on set. So therefore, we took the project to AfrikaBurn, which is a radical self-reliance, a radical inclusivity, radical self-expression each one teach one. So when we read the goals about this event, we thought, yeah, it fits our project very well. So we went into the desert with some material. We rented a power generator, and we started off like making a set. And so we had music, and we made a very large, let's say, television screen, which we also thought was, as an artistic endeavor, quite funny to put a big television in the middle of the desert at AfrikaBurn. It's a bit this. And you had, on the one hand, the screen where people would watch, and then we would invite people to come like inside the television and draw with us and make the show on the moment. And it was the drawing, we had the music, and then we also had people who started like making shadow shapes and dancing in front of the projector. I think maybe that's the do we have a picture of the next one? I think it's somewhere there. But yeah, you see here. So we had like a very nice setup with a lot of people giving us very nice feedback and wanting to participate. Then we also we got in contact, like people just came up to us and they said, yeah, we have a vehicle, but we don't have much on that vehicle. And they proposed us if we would put our entire set on their vehicle, which we did. It was not easy, that I can say. But then we had a vehicle to drive around, and then we could invite people in, but then it was like there was not much space, so we could not invite like a few people at the same time, but we could invite people in to draw with us or to make drawings, and we would project on the sand, just on the desert down, which created some kind of lightened dance floor. And as we started driving around with this vehicle, people would follow, would stay with us, would still make shadow shapes in the sand. And I think it was a very nice experience to see how you, with some light and color and a minimal of technicality, actually can create some kind of a group feeling, a sharing feeling. Everybody joined in, helping us making this.
Okay, so this was the second Artfluence Festival that we were a part of, and this was at a Durban art gallery. So this event was really just all of us coming together, where we were familiar with the software, and then Philip also came and did a performance, and even there was a drama performance where someone was singing, and then all of this was just a combination for us where we had the software and where students were more than welcome to come in and draw. So you notice that a lot, where when we had the setup there, everyone is curious about what's happening, and then to see them draw something and then see it projected, that for them, I felt like it encouraged them to do more. And then the software itself actually flips through frames. And I remember seeing that so many students would draw something and then go to the projection and wait until the slide appeared. And so I think that in itself, it was just a way for people to interact with the software and really see what it can do and the possibilities, and how we combine this with other performances, and how the software actually enhanced the performance, where it added something to it. This was one where we did it with the students, and because it was in the art gallery setting, it kind of transformed of where on one side we had work put up where it was just visual, where they would walk along and view it. And this on the other end was, you know, we were asking them to come and create with us, like be a part of what you're seeing. And I think that really created a very difference between what the gallery normally put up and then what we brought as something very innovative. So that was this event. And then this was how it was set up with our drawers, and they could see the projections as they were drawing. And then this was the performance by Philip, and the drama performance. And then this was one of our last ones. Yeah.
Yes, I'm waiting for the slides to come. I think I'm a bit slower down here. but we are at the drawing across borders now.
Yeah.
Okay. This actually, with the last thing Bhavna was explaining, that was a bit the final of the project for VLIR. But since we were building on a network, we didn't stop. We wanted to continue. So we still had an Erasmus KA171 program going on between Antwerp and Durban. There were other collaborations going on, and we decided to do this Drawing Across Borders project. And here we actually combined everything we did in the 2-year VLIR project into one day. It was a bit like the top showcase of everything. So what we did here is like, it was quite ambitious, but it worked. We connected 4 universities worldwide, being Kentucky, being Poland, being Antwerp and Durban, where we would have setups on each of the locations. An event was created also on each of the locations. In Antwerp, it was during the biannual drawing marathon of the Royal Academy. And on this picture, you see we put a large-scale projection outside where people would enter. And then inside, we would have a setup. And what you see here on the computer interface is like, here we made some add-ons to make it all very clear to present it. Like, this was a visual interface where you could see like where the data was going, like who was drawing and where it was connected. We also had a live camera on each set, that so on YouTube you could see the 4 different locations showcasing the same canvas. And the canvas was made by artists and students in the 4 different locations. What we also already a bit introduced during AfrikaBurn, what I forgot to say, is that we started working with drawing instructions, but not as an instruction in the hard sense, but more like an inspirational texts or things they could use to give inspiration of what to draw, to contain it a bit. In this case, it was all about borders. What does it mean to have borders? How neutral are borders, even if you work online and with VPN servers and things like that. So it was about borders in the literal, but also in a more philosophical way. And that's how we did this. What else do I need to say about this? Yeah, it was, it was an event, 4 hours on a row. We connected these 4 different institutions working collaboratively. And we're looking now to, we applied for another, yeah, maybe Bhavna, you first talk about the Africa setup.
Okay, so this is how we set it up in Durban. This was our main projection screen, and then this was our setup with the drawing. And then we had tablets that had the web prompts. And then what would happen is, if you wanted to draw, it was open to everyone. If you wanted to, you could get a prompt, and then you would sit and you would draw. And then that was how we set this up.
And we also had the chat, like a very open chat, like that was also developed then by Kentucky, actually. So you would just log in with your phone or any device, and it would give you like an anonymous name, like you have on Google Docs. But we used all these types of colors for names. So you didn't need to log in, you didn't need to give your name or register or something. It would just work. You would open it and you could start chatting with someone. And there were quite funny conversations going on of people around the world, people that never met before, but they were like, oh, hello, I'm also in this project, and where are you, and what are you drawing, and can you draw this? Because then you would see it on the shared canvas, that it would appear there. So that was also on the site, a way to connect people and also make people engaged with the project and immerse themselves in collaborating. Yeah, sorry, Bhavna. So here you see the 4 YouTubes or live streams of the different locations.
And even with the web chat, it was nice for the student rowers to put a name or a person behind what they were seeing, because after a while it just became like this myriad of flashing images that were the projections. And then when we had the web chat, it was like, no, I drew this, or no, that's what I did, or can you see I drew a circle. So it was a really good way to even further have this interaction, not just with what we were drawing, but with the actual people behind the drawings, the different cultures. And I think even one student, she wanted to say her name and she wanted to be like, no, this is how you pronounce my name. So it was just about the connection that we had, where we were meeting these different people, but on the same platform. So I think that was really great to see with the students, where they interacted with like-minded people from different cultural backgrounds and things like that, and even from the different schools. And then this was in Antwerp. But yeah, I think this is the
This
last
was
one.
the Antwerp site, where we also had different projections of the data, the canvas itself. That was the inside, like the working center, and then outside you had the big projection. What I wanted to add, because I think we're at the end, Bhavna?
Yeah.
That we applied for another KA171 Erasmus with Royal Academy and Durban, with the goal to continue working on projects like this or others. But the main goal is also to have scholars from Durban coming to Antwerp, because as Bhavna was saying in the beginning, it's very enriching for
Inspiring. Yeah.
and fellow students to get this experience and to broaden your perspective and be part of a larger network of artists and engaged people to work with. Yeah.
And to also show there's more possibilities than what we were given before. Like, it's very how can I say, restricted with us, where you do a degree, you study, and then you meant to find a job. But here, where we encourage research and making connections and like fostering education amongst ourselves, it's this avenue that's opening up that before our students weren't exposed to that. But now with this, and to see how much we can actually do and how much was done, it's seeming more and more like a possibility for our students, where they are like, no, if my work can be presented, or if I can contribute in this way, I think it's very inspiring for them as well, where they feel like they can go in to this discipline and have something to do, or some potential there, really. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think this is the end of the presentation. So thank you very much, Janna and Bhavna, for presenting this wonderful project. I'm very happy also to hear that it's continuing beyond the 2 years that we're supported. I first of all want to ask if there are any questions or anything unclear to the public that is listening in. If you have a question, you can raise your hand, unmute yourself and ask it in person, or you can send it in the chat if you prefer. If there's no questions from the this Corina, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you. I'm a bit an odd participant, I think, in this session. Just briefly to present myself, I'm an evaluator of development projects, and I have done some evaluations for VLIR in the past, and I participate for 2 reasons. First one is that my heart is craving to get some art in my life, given the situation in the world today, but that's another topic. And second is because as evaluators, we often have very text-loaded reports, and we engage with people to get their story, but often in a written form or in a workshop where we want them to talk and to speak. So I was very interested to find out how you can support storytelling or stimulate storytelling by using more creative methods, and also maybe doing this across borders. because as an evaluator, I go to another country, but maybe it's more interesting, not for me, but for others to engage together and discuss and to evaluate or self-evaluate what they are doing. So my question is, in fact, to what extent you think that this approach could be also, how would you say, not commercialized, but maybe also made fit for purpose for other kind of work?
I think there is a lot of possibility in making it fit for other kinds of work. As I said, the setup and the work method we use is very flexible, and we can easily adapt on the situation. Like throughout this project and also the projects we did before, only Royal Academy, I mean, like in making all this happen. You could go from a small scale workshop settings with only students or a certain group, and you can take it very wide into, as we did, a collaborative effort that goes beyond geographic locations. There is ways of trying to immerse the people and to engage, like we did the dome projections, but before that we once did a projection, for instance, that was during COVID in a skate bowl where youngsters would skate in between and work with us. So it's very adaptable on the set and on the moment. And we are always very keen to see it also a bit as a tool of social engagement, of collaborating, of noticing that everybody is equal in a way, because you all have the same you can do this, you can draw and that's it, and you can engage, but we try to take away the inequalities by making it very low threshold. It also works on a bit older computers. You don't need the newest high-tech software to be able to work with this. Before this project, we also went to, for instance, Cuba, where the economic situation is very bad. And even there, we managed to work with people. We had graffiti artists from the street. We had street musicians that would collaborate. And that gives these people also a view and a bit of a hope that you can, even with low threshold, you can do a lot, and you can create a certain impact. Is that an answer to your question? Maybe Bhavna, you want to add to it?
I think I'm okay.
Yes, it's a good start as a response, and maybe it would be nice to see with the development sector and the NGOs if more things can happen, more creative things like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Corina, for the wonderful question. I think, Nicole, you can ask your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Nicole Keith. I'm actually from the University of Glasgow in the UK. I serve on the VLIR commissions as well. But this is just an absolutely fascinating topic. And I think that what you've illustrated beautifully are the possibilities. And you mentioned that. And that's what I'd like to ask you about, because a lot of the groups you're talking about get it, right? When you're talking about even across hard to reach geographies, you're working with like-minded people on the whole. One of the possibilities for this work is, say you're interested in health equity, and you want to work with difficult to reach groups. And by that, I mean, they might be in prison systems, or they might be in hospices. They might not really, at that moment, really care about art. It's not that component. It's a way of getting to those hard to reach groups and do research with those hard to reach groups, because it's a way of bringing people together, which you've illustrated beautifully. You've illustrated beautifully the public spaces, but yet those tend to all still be those who get it. And I think there's just a wonderful opportunity here about ambition, about pushing this beyond those who are part of your existing community, even if they are in low income or constrained, but using it in exactly the way you talked about, because it goes cross-discipline, it goes cross-sector, and it goes cross-generation. So the potential for real-world impact is high. And just very briefly, how are you measuring any change that is coming out of this or thinking about it? So essentially the impact question, rather than just people join in. So what are the key measures that you're taking?
Okay, I think it's a difficult question about the hard to reach groups. We didn't have the opportunity yet, or didn't really go into that direction yet about really these hard to reach groups. What I can say, what we tested before, is to use it also as a tool for nonverbal communication. So we did think about if your voice cannot say it, or if you work with people that are foreigners in a country, it can be used as a tool to express yourself in a different way. And it's true what you say, that we look a lot for like-minded people. But what we were working here was also the goals on equality, if it comes to male, female, inclusivity, like gender, all of that. Like everybody can participate, no questions asked. But it's true that we could take this further. And as for impact, I think it's difficult to measure in a way that we do surveys. We ask people about your experience and how that they perceived it. For this case, then maybe I have to look to Bhavna. Like for her, a different world opened, and she saw that there was much more than the world she was used to. For other impact, for instance, the projects I did before in Havana, was that a lot of the people I worked with there, they added it to their portfolio, and they used it also to get higher up. Like I met it was a street musician who would work for the church as a piano cleaner, and giving some piano lessons to youngsters. And after participating a few times with us with this project, I also left one of our Wacom tablets there. They kept on using it. And on this moment, he's a bit of like a famous Cuban that comes on television. So for some people, if they really engage, if they see potential, you have an impact. It can bring them further.
I think this is where you're very good at capturing stories, and using stories to capture the impact also will be very valuable in justifying future funding for this, but taking it into new areas. It's really wonderful. I'll leave it there, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I saw a question in the chat from Melinda. She's asking about the impact of psychological wellness and of how the working collaborative. Melinda, if you have anything to add, you can always unmute yourself and ask the question yourself, but this is what I'm getting from your comment.
That is 100% correct. I would love to hear about the psychological wellness and how you think one can assess the impact, and if that's something to look at in future.
Yes, maybe I add to that, like we are mainly visual artists that work on this project. So I don't have much knowledge, or I cannot speak as a professional about psychological wellness. But as a storyteller, I notice that people we work with, this way of collaborating, I would not say it's an entire safe space. You cannot promise that, but we're trying to get there. And I think it has an impact on psychological wellness, because you give people hope, a connection. You show them how to connect with other people, and you try to bring some optimism. And also, even on the other hand, it could be used as a tool for protest as well. Like we didn't really do that so far. Yeah, we had an issue during the last event that someone wrote something on the shared canvas that was not maybe appropriate. And then the connection was cut for that part of the school. So that made us think about borders and what does it mean to have borders. And even in this open set, someone can decide to just unplug, or what is it about access? Some people have access to the whole and some people not. So I can only answer the question from the point of view of an artist, like I am, but I would say it has impact on wellness.
Thank you, Janna. That's a fantastic answer. Thank you. Makes one
Thank
think.
you.
If I can just add to about that, I think it was one of the first workshops we did where students from the community, like they weren't necessarily digital artists or drawers or anything. They were just the students. And then when they saw Philip performing and how he performed with the mic, I mean, I think a student came, one of the younger gentlemen came up, and I think he did an entire performance in Zulu, but I feel like we gave him that platform as well. And there was people there who were listening to what he was saying. And I can understand Zulu a little bit, but the way he was performing and when he got up on stage, you could feel really that, you know what, this was something that was affecting him, where he needed to say this to us, or he wanted us to know. Because if we translated what he was saying, it was really just about his struggles in the community and how he's trying to do better for himself. And I think also the platform that we provide, where we go to workshops and communities that aren't exposed to this type of exposure, like they don't have that normally. And if we take that to them, it just opens up we're giving them the attention, I guess. And I think that it just provides this platform where they can speak about their struggles and find other people who relate to that. And I think that, in a way, this platform that we provide, and where the events become bigger than just the projection screen, and the collaboration becomes a lot of people in the discipline who want to perform and show what they can do. And I think a lot of it is related to social and cultural aspects, where it's very unique what they're saying and their struggles. And it's nice to know that sometimes we can relate to that. So yeah, I think that also is very important, that we are providing this platform to these areas and these people where it wasn't something that they were exposed to before. Yeah.
Thanks, Bhavna. It is extremely powerful, and thanks for sharing this with us.
Thank you for your question. And then I see that also Octavia has a question. You can show your video if that works and unmute yourself.
I also just want to say that it's lovely, firstly as a South African, to living in Antwerp, to see how these things combine and come together. I have a question around, it's sort of touching on what Nicole and Melinda started with impact and what are the next steps. I'm wondering, it seems like from the presentation you have this whole rich body of data, because I don't know if you've kept these things with the intent. You have all of the chats, you have all of the photographs, you have all of the reactions that people gave you. So there's like a whole mountain, and of course all the visual data too, the drawings. Perhaps it can become very easily multidisciplinary if someone from psychology or other disciplines would come in and work with you, not with new events, but everything that you've created just from hosting these events, which seems, from the presentation to be really in-depth, large, and you must have like thousands or hundreds of conversations recorded, right? So and maybe I'm trying to spark something, or curious to know how you handled that component, not the event, but the data component.
We have from all the drawings, or most of them, we have the data captured. We have parts of the online chats, but also a lot of stuff is not captured, because we see it also a bit as these events, they happen on a certain moment. It's a bit like you go to a theater, it's on the moment and then it's gone. It's a performance and then it's gone. You have to be part of it. It's very difficult to document it in a way that it stays the feeling it has on the moment. And that's something we are still also researching all the times, of ways of capturing and keeping stuff. And on a certain moment, we made also the decision, like, okay, we see it as a performance, a play. If you were not there on the moment, yeah, you missed it. You have to come to the next one. It's a bit that. And the stories of people, of course, yeah, we have short transcripts of it. We have emails from people thanking us, but it's not that it's a huge amount. Most is orally talked on the moment, talked with the people. So, but I think indeed, if we would connect with people who are more in the field of psychology or other scientific categories, that could help in doing all that and in taking it to a next level. Like,
Thank you.
we do this really from an artistic research perspective.
And that's very good that you say that. I immediately think that there are researchers' diaries, like if you're working practice-based, or just you as artist reflecting, that already, like, I think can become data that could be used. And then the drawings themselves can be analyzed. So all the drawings that exist have value, or further value. But it's interesting. Thank you. As I understand, it's also difficult to work in interdisciplinary because you are, like you've said, coming from an artistic branch here, that, you know, these things need to be opened in new ways. Thank you.
Thank you for all the great questions. Are there any more questions, or are there any more added comments, feedback you want to give? I see already Melinda is saying she's a psychologist, so if ever we can exchange contacts.
Maybe I have to add something to these questions, like on impact. I think a big change we achieved was that the digital drawing became part of the curriculum of the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Like, we had it already in Antwerp, like in the Royal Academy of Antwerp, we have the classical model drawing that we have in all courses. And with this project, it became the digital drawing, not necessarily with this software, but this was the step up, is part of the curriculum of model drawing, not as a replacing, but also like opening up for young artists this perspective of you can use digital drawing as well. It doesn't all have to be charcoal, and it could interact even with each other. That's more of a educational point of view. And then in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, they also implemented this digital drawing and these collaborative ways of working into their curriculum. So I think that's an impact on educational level for the young people we get as students in our institutions. Yeah.
Thank you for adding this. Are there any more questions? We have time for one question. Nicole is asking for you to capture and evidence it.
Evidence it, okay.
So I think if there's no further question, we can we can end this presentation and this community talk. If there's any further questions afterwards, don't hesitate to reach out. We will provide you with the presentation and the Zoom afterwards. So thank you all for this great great chat and great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.